Meow meow, it's me, my sweeties. Today we're talking about Lost Highway. Let's get into the video.
I'm wearing dark glasses today because I'm seeing the future and it's looking very bright.
Directed by David Lynch, starring Patricia Arquette, Bill Pullman, and Balthazar Getty, Lost Highway follows Fred Madison, a saxophonist who is accused under mysterious circumstances of murdering his wife Renee. On death row, he inexplicably morphs into a young man named Pete Dayton, leading a completely different life. When Pete is released, his and Fred's paths begin to cross in a surreal, suspenseful web of intrigue, orchestrated by a shady gangster boss named Dick Laurent. If you're new to this series, welcome to my retrospective series, Connected to the Moon, which is named after David Lynch's very sweet viral tweets where he spoke about him feeling like he is connected to the moon. In this series, we are going through all of his films on the channel, and we are going to be celebrating this icon in all of his glory. His work has touched me and many other actors, filmmakers, and artists all around the world, and spending the rest of 2025 watching his work has been like therapy for me, and I hope it has been the same for you. Now, before we get into all of my juicy thoughts on this film, I'm bringing it all the way back to how this film came about in the mind of David Lynch. This film came out in 1997. Oh my gosh, I was 1 year old when this came out. Wow, I was but a wee babe. And to no surprise, it is considered to be a surrealist neo-noir horror. Girl, we already know it's surrealist. Do you know what director we're talking about today? Anyways, upon release, Lost Highway received mixed reviews and grossed about $3.7 million in North America after a very modest 3-week run. Most critics initially dismissed the film as incoherent, but to no surprise, it has since gained a cult following and a scholarly interest. Are we surprised? Yes, I went to acting school. I know all about that interest. We were all like, oh my God, who is David Lynch? David had directed this film after directing Fire Walk with Me, which is the prequel film to his very popular TV series, Twin Peaks, which, yes, baby, we are going to be talking about all of Twin Peaks very, very soon. So David actually mentioned in an interview that he came across a phrase, Lost Highway, in the book titled Night People from 1992 by Barry Gifford. Because Lynch knew the writer well and had previously adapted his novel Wild at Heart into a film, he actually told him that he loved the phrase as a title for a movie. Typical Lynch, as I talked about in my Blue Velvet video, it kind of just always starts with the title for him, doesn't it? So these two decided to Oh, I haven't had whiskey straight in a while. So these two actually decided to write the screenplay for this movie together, and the funniest thing actually happened. David mentioned in a few interviews that I had seen that they both came up with several ideas, and when they sat down to present them to each other, they both hated all of their ideas. They did not vibe with anything they were bringing to the table here. Then suddenly, things clicked for David on his last night of shooting Fire Walk with Me, when he had thought about videotapes and a couple in crisis. And this idea would later develop into the first part of the film until Fred Madison is put on death row. Lynch and Gifford then realized that a transformation had to occur, and another story, which would have several links to the first one, but also differ, developed. It took them about a month or so to finish the script, which is absolutely crazy to me, given how absolutely batshit this movie is. David also mentioned a few times in interviews that this film was partially inspired by the murder trial of OJ and Simpson's ability to return to his life afterwards as normal, as if nothing had happened. I actually could see this serving some inspiration, even though this film was a complete mindfuck for me. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know actually how much I truly did understand. But you know what? We're gonna get into that when I delve deeper into the story, so just take a seat. Let's discuss the casting process and our performances because, oh my god, girl, I have so much to say about the performances. If there is anything I'm gonna be yapping about in today's video, it is these damn performances. Lost Highway stars some of my favorite actors. Bill Pullman and Patricia Arquette are two icons that I have followed from a very young age. So David actually knew that he wanted to work with Bill Pullman, who funnily enough was actually already his friend and his neighbor, which I just think is so funny. Just two icons surrounding each other in the neighborhood. Love that. As I said before, Bill Pullman is an actor that I have loved for so long, and I just think he is so effortlessly charming and is such a natural performer. He's so great. I love everything about him. He does everything with such ease. He is fantastic here to no surprise, but while I do love him dearly, I have to discuss the one who steals the show for me and carries the movie with ease while having to be so incredibly brave and vulnerable, especially with the context of this film. And that is Patricia Arquette. Patricia agreed to be cast as Renee and Alice because she was actually really interested in portraying a sexually desirable and dangerous woman. She had mentioned that this was a role she has never done before, and since she is such a shy person, she thought that it was something that would be really challenging and fun for her to do. She had also been a huge fan of Lynch for a long time and felt that it would be just an honor to work with him in any regard. I get that because I too would have done anything. I would have played a tree, I would have played a fly on the wall, I would have done anything actually. She ate this movie up and left not a single damn crumb. I was captivated by Patricia the entire time, and it works so well with her character, or shall I say characters, who are both so mysterious and dreamy. She is transcendent for me in this film. Every scene of her, every reaction shot gets better than the next. Now, we also have to discuss Balthazar Getty, who was chosen for the role of Pete Dayton after Lynch saw a picture of him in a magazine and said that he was the guy for the job. Because the script was so open to interpretation, Getty and Arquette did not know what kind of film Lost Highway truly was supposed to be. According to Balthazar Getty, part of David's technique is to keep his actors guessing because it creates a certain atmosphere on the set. And I actually watched a few interviews of David talking about this, and I have to say a big reason why I love him so much as a director is because of his love for actors. The way he loves and respects the actors is something so beautiful and not something that we have seen often. And I love how much he respects actors' process and he just really trusts his actors. He's like, I want you to do whatever you think, whatever it means to you, do that, run with it. There is no wrong answer. And that is so beautiful to see. I think it's safe to say that David had all of us racking our brains out because I don't really 100% know what the hell was going on in this movie. And with that, let's delve right into our story and themes because this one is a doozy. Although Lost Highway is generally classified as a neo-noir film, this film actually borrows elements from other genres, including, apparently, German Expressionism and French New Wave, which French New Wave, I can totally see. That makes so much sense for me. German Expressionism, I didn't really get that, but I mean, it's David Lynch. So much like what we spoke about in the Blue Velvet episode with Dorothy being the femme fatale, we see that once again in this film with Alice Wakefield, who basically misleads Pete Dayton into dangerous situations. You know, we love a good femme fatale here on this channel. This is a safe space for that. I love femme fatales. I want to be one. I feel like that's just overall my vibe. So maybe I am one now that I think about it. I can be anything I want to be. This film, similar to Blue Velvet, was noted for its graphic violence and sexual themes, which Lynch actually defended these images, stating that he was simply just being authentic with his own ideas for the film. I actually find Lost Highway to be a bit more confusing to me than other works from Lynch so far. After watching the film and doing research, I found it rather interesting that David has been asked about what the film is and what it's about so many times, and he doesn't really ever answer the question. It's really interesting how he kind of dances around the question and ultimately you never get an answer. While many have stated that this film was incoherent, he has pretty much stuck by the fact that the film makes perfect sense to him and that there are no right or wrong answers in terms of your interpretation of what this film is about. Basically, he feels that whatever interpretation you've come up with, however it speaks to you, that's what it's about. I kind of love that. And while I do feel like this was the most confusing to me, I do love the fact that this was a director that really wanted to make the audience think and dissect and talk about this movie over and over again, watch it again, keep looking for different clues. Love that. He's never been content with making just straightforward stories. He wants things to be complicated and nuanced, which I absolutely love. So while he hasn't really answered a lot of questions, David did say that for him, this film is all about identity. Actually, interesting fun fact. Lost Highway's circular narrative has been compared to a Mobius strip, which, for those who don't know, the Mobius strip is a surface that can be formed by attaching the ends of a strip of paper together with a half twist. And that, when explained, actually makes a lot of sense to me. This film, to no surprise, has a lot going on, but I do agree with a lot of people's interpretations about how this film essentially examines male obsessions with women who merely just represent emotions that relate to them. This brings me to an interesting line in the film that I felt like was probably the most powerful of all. This line really does feel like the main theme of the film for me, and that line is, I like to remember things my own way, not necessarily the way they happened. While I have to be honest, I do not feel like in this review I can give that great of an analogy of what Lost Highway is about. I have to say that after watching an interview that Patricia Arquette did, I feel her interpretation of what the film meant for her as she portrayed both Renee and Alice was the one that made the absolute most sense to me. She said, and I quote, "To me, it's sort of a movie about looking at women through the eyes of a misogynist. So he's totally obsessed with her, can't love her enough, can't have her to himself enough, can't kill her enough times." She then said, "He hates women. He doesn't quite trust her, even though she is his wife." Then he recreates himself as this virile young man and meets her again. And now she actually wants to have sex with him and she is in love with him. But even in this version, she isn't worthy and she's dirty to him. In this man's mind, a woman is always the monster, no matter what. It's like high-key giving mama's boy syndrome or something. Girl, what I really needed was to watch this movie with Patricia Arquette. She knew exactly what this damn thing is about. Actually, after hearing her say all her thoughts, I started piecing things together, kind of like anxiously awaiting for that time where I'm ready to rewatch this film again. When thinking back on so many scenes of her and him, like that is it. This girl gets it. It made me think back to another line that Patricia actually has, and it really, really resonated with me. And I know it has resonated with a lot of other people. It's actually one that I saw quoted a lot on Letterboxd. That is, of course, when he is saying how much he wants her and she says to him, "You will never have me." And oh my God, that is so perfect. The way it's delivered, chef's kiss. I am sure all of us girlies have felt like this plenty of times before. So since this is Lynch, you guys know that I have to get into the way the film is shot. Lost Highway, to no surprise, is another beautiful, dreamlike, surreal film. It's not quite as color poppy as Blue Velvet for me, but there are a lot of really gorgeous, gorgeous scenes. A lot of them really do revolve around Alice or Renee, but especially Alice. There are so many beautiful shots of her just kind of looking angel-like. I also have to point out, when our characters are on the phone, I love the shots of just Patricia's mouth. It's beautiful to me. It is pure cinema. The way it is framed, the lighting, the shadows, it's beautiful. Okay, so you guys know how I was going on a whole tangent about how much I love Patricia Arquette in this and how much I admire her bravery with this film. Well, I have to speak about this and celebrate this queen's work because, hello, it's Women's History Month. It's always Women's History Month here on this channel, but it's like actually March. It's like actually Women's History Month right now. So we gotta celebrate this. The scenes that involved nudity and sexual contact proved to be very, very difficult for Patricia. She actually considers herself to be a really modest, shy person. She's never really been very open about sex, and she is just a very to herself type of person. Nevertheless, she felt very protected by Lynch and the entire film crew, who would always give her robes immediately at any time when they were done shooting those scenes. And she did say that they made the set feel so fun and free, and he was always very caring and protective. Another thing I have to mention that I really loved hearing is that she mentioned in an interview that at first she considered going to the gym because she knew she was going to be nude in the film, and she actually decided against it because she really wanted to show her natural body type. She mentioned that she went on about her regular eating habits and just ate candy regularly and just really didn't care because she wanted to look as genuine as possible. I really love to hear this because this woman is absolutely gorgeous, and it really does take a lot to do everything that she does in this movie. Yeah, I know. You're like, girl, oh my God, this review's been nothing but you talking about Patricia Arquette, blah, blah, whatever. This performance deserves it. I'm telling you, watch the film and then come back and tell me if she really isn't the heart of it. Lastly, I have to talk about the score. I thoroughly enjoyed the score, which was actually done by Angelo Badalamenti, who has done the score for Twin Peaks. Him and David have worked together many, many times. I think his scores are so beautiful and haunting. They feel hopeful and sad. They just perfectly capture like everything that comes out of David Lynch's brain. It really does help immerse you into the movie, and it ultimately did help me to like the film even more. So I have to be completely honest, while I did really love the performances in this movie, Lost Highway is one that I feel like I have to revisit again in time when I'm ready. I don't think that'll be right now or anytime soon. I do need more time to sit with this film, but it didn't quite capture me and grasp me in the way that Blue Velvet did. I think given the explanations of what Patricia thinks the film is about and hearing other friends explain their interpretations, it has helped me to understand the movie better, but I just wish I could have had a deeper connection with it while I was watching. I wish I could have came out like, wow, I feel so connected to this. And unfortunately, I just didn't. But I do want to revisit. I do feel like it's not a film I hated, and I do think it'll grow on me. Though the film is beautiful and has some really powerful scenes that I'm gonna think about forever now, this film does tend to drag a bit for me in the middle. I feel like it was kind of taking a little bit too much time to get to where we had to go. The film is about 2 hours and I think like 17 minutes. And I do think there was some dragging going on. I ultimately was left with what is happening? What is this? I have no idea what I just watched. But you know what? That's okay. When I first watched Possession 1981, which is one of my favorite films of all time, it took me a few watches to really grasp what that film means to me. From the first viewing, I didn't fully grasp it. And on my second viewing, I was like, oh my God. I actually got so emotional with how much I resonated with the character of Anna. Perhaps that'll happen to me with Lost Highway after my next viewing. But until then, I am going to be giving Lost Highway 3 Levs out of 5. It's a likable film, it's pretty, and the performances are very, very good. So if you're into quality acting and a mindfuck of a movie, I definitely think you're going to enjoy this one. All right, you cuties, that is it for today's video. I hope you will continue to meet me for a slice of cherry pie and a damn fine cup of coffee as we go through more of Lynch's work together. Let me know in the comments, what was your interpretation of Lost Highway? Did you have a favorite scene? I would love to talk all about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.